Hello, my name is Jeff Kim, and I'll be presenting to you a research paper on design practitioners' insights regarding the use of co-location in the design-build process. This is a product of the following authors on this screen from Auburn University. As an introduction, co-location is about bringing all the stakeholders of a project together in a common location so that they can improve the team's effectiveness. To establish a little bit of background, reviewing the literature resolved a few recurrent factors for us. If you look at construction industry from the early phases in the United States, the expertise has really shifted from a master builder to expertise that's really spread across multiple groups. The need and the importance for collaboration is much more important now. Other recurrent factors that came up in the literature across many different sources identified about 10 different factors that we'll use later in this research: communication, integration, team chemistry, cost, time, and quality, the effectiveness and the efficiency of the construction process, as well as the effectiveness and the efficiency of the design process. Furthering our background understanding of co-location, we found several articles that focused on the value of co-location. In fact, there was an increased likelihood of project success when co-location was used, as well as the potential to add to the project value. Additionally, co-location was sought to or seen to support the communication effort through the use of informal channels when co-location was used. Following a review of the literature led us to a gap in the research that really tried to identify how the participants viewed the co-location process in design build. More broadly, we were looking to find out if all the constituents equally valued co-location, since co-location is such a highly communicative process as well as one that required lots of collaboration. But more specifically for this particular research, we narrowed it down to the designer's perceptions that support the notion that co-location adds to project success and value. Therefore, more specifically, the rationale for this research was to find out essentially the designer's perceptions of co-location towards project success when the design build process was used. The research was structured as an electronic survey as the data gathering tool, and the focus group was the DBIA, or the Design Build Institute of America. We focused on the members of that group, and over about a 3-week period we received 405 responses. We filtered those responses for this particular study to design profession only, and that filtered down to 101 responses. Those 101 constituents broke down into these 3 subcategories: engineers, architects, and consultants. In terms of the years of experience that they've had within the construction industry, as you can see from this graph here, more than 50% had more than 15 years of experience, with actually a significant number having between 6 and 15%. The DBIA also breaks itself down into several different regions of the country, and this is the breakdown of the participants that responded to this survey. As was previously mentioned, there were several success factors that appeared in the research literature that we felt could be used to measure the success of co-location for the design build projects. These success factors were essentially distilled from the literature, and the participants were asked to what extent these factors can contribute to the successful use of co-location. So this chart basically lists the results of the 5-level Likert scale, and lists the factors along the left-hand side of the graph and the participants' responses as expressed as percentages to the right of that. The factors that were more agreeable, that contain basically higher frequencies of strongly agree responses, appeared near the top of the graph, and factors that were less agreeable or had smaller frequencies of strongly agree responses would appear near the bottom of the graph. Therefore, improving communication appeared to be one of the more strongly agreed success factors, whereas reduces project cost was one of the less than agreed success factors. Aside from the demographic data that was collected and the analysis of the success factors on the previous slide, The survey also asked a number of open-ended responses for each of the different types of questions. The participants offered their statements, and there were some repeated themes that appeared throughout. Some of these themes were a little concerning to us, and so they seemed to hint at disruptions within the co-location process. So those were identified here, basically tallied according to their frequency, as shown on the left-hand side of the table, as disruption themes. The remainder of this presentation will go through each of those disruption themes and identify how they affect co-location. Disruption theme number 1, successful design build is dependent upon project size and complexity. Several of the participants frequently offered that project size and complexity was a dependency in their responses to most of the closed-ended types of questions. If they were asked if co-location would increase project value, many of the designers in the open-ended form of the question responded that project size and complexity was always a concern. In fact, actually, a number of the participants noted that the projects needed to be at least $150 million or larger to necessarily use co-location. 60% of the people responded to that. But the prevailing theme was that should co-location be a contractual requirement, it always depended upon project size and complexity. Disruption theme number 2, co-location causes a disruption to the intra-organizational collaboration. Many of the questions concerning co-location received open-ended responses that we were not prepared for. While the planned benefits of co-location for the entire project team is to get that entire team to work in harmony, co-location seemed to have an unfavorable effect on the design practitioner's intra-organizational collaboration. That is, the collaboration that happens within the company itself, as evident by some of the comments that you see on the screen. Disruption theme number 3, design disciplines are not organizationally structured for co-location. Several of our design professionals shared that their organizational processes and procedures would not be conducive to co-location. A separation from their home office seemed to separate them from their resources at their home office. The design practitioners also explained that they work on multiple projects at a single time and that it's not the norm for their design practice. In fact, several of them also acknowledged that it was quite costly for them to do so. And here's some other comments from the open-ended feedback that we received. Disruption theme number 4, the owner must be a part of the co-location effort. While the design practitioners seemed somewhat agreeable to co-location, they often stipulated that for co-location to be truly successful, the owner really needs to be a part of that effort, which is evident in several of the responses that you see here on the screen. The research did not specifically address the ownership's viewpoint. Academically, co-location is a critical principle for the success of the design build project, so it's questionable why owners would not unanimously agree that this practice is also for them. Disruption theme number 5, technology can help co-location. There were many instances where the participants suggested that technology is already an active replacement for co-location, as can be evident from some of the responses that you see here. The scope of this particular research, we did not examine the role of technology specifically in the future of collaboration, so that could be a very good launching point for a new point of research. So in conclusion, the co-location process is a highly integrative process, as the literature has shown us, and the project success is highly dependent upon how well the project team works together. So it's important to understand the perception of all the constituents involved, the designers in particular, but all the other constituents are also important to understand, and those would be further next steps in this research. The design discipline may also need to be restructured in some way as they try to adapt to these new highly collaborative environments, even though their intra-organizational methods don't really focus on or identify ways in which collaboration work for them. And in some ways, technologies may overcome those particular barriers. Lastly, the designers value the role that the owner plays in the co-location process as one of the participants of that process, yet it's unfortunate that many of the owners are not present in some of these processes, so we could see some improvement from the owner's vantage point as well in the entire process. Thank you for your time to listen, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach me at these following social media sites or my email.